All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Midnight Magic Musings channel. I am your humble host, the Lord Cephas. I am joined yet again, 2 consecutive weeks, by the Earl of Florida. Earl, how are you?
I'm melting. Melting!
Unfortunately, the room that the Earl uses is not particularly climate controlled. And being that we live in Florida, the heat, the humidity, the mosquitoes, palmetto bugs, whatever it is you want to ascribe to Florida, yep, we got them. And so we'll try and, not waste the Earl's time so he doesn't actually melt on camera. That'd probably get us a strike on YouTube. I'm not sure for what, but I think injuries actually do get.
New people, new subscribers. So melt away.
I mean, I could turn it into a short. It'd be like the shipwreck episode in um, There's No Place Like Springfield, where all the characters were melting. Dude, that is extremely mentally taxing, by the way. All right. You know what's not mentally taxing? That's what you, the fans, actually do. And we do appreciate each and every one of you that have subscribed, you watch, you listen, you share this out on your chosen social media platform. We thank you for doing that. Please remember to click the like button if you would. It really does help us with the YouTube algorithm. It gets the show and shows out to many more people. We do appreciate that. If you're seeing this for the first time, you're like, what in the world have I stumbled upon? Don't feel bad. People who watch this channel regularly still feel the same way. But if you do us a favor and click that subscribe button, that would also help us a great deal as well. Well, Earl, we've got some big stories to cover this week. We only got a couple, but they're pretty sizable in what's been going on. So let's start with the first one. And we titled this one Good Night, Farewell, and Amen. Now, for those of you who are not old like I am, that was actually the title, exactly, the title of the final episode of MASH was Good Night, Farewell, or Goodbye, Farewell, and Amen. So we adjusted a little bit because here at Midnight Magic Music, we record pretty much close to midnight because that's the way our life goes. Earl, there was some big news today. As the Indeed, we already know that there has been a writer's strike.
Yes.
Well, as of today, well, guess what? It's the SAG-AFTRA is the national board that governs the actors side of Hollywood. The actors voted to let their contract expire at midnight on Wednesday night. And so as of today, there is no contract. Therefore, the actors are on strike. Earl, the actors are on strike. The writers are on strike. What is your immediate feedback? What's your immediate thoughts on both of those disparate groups being on strike at the same time?
They're coming to take us away. I mean, the downside to, we were like, if we can get all these scripts written and all these different things that we have written, we could conceivably keep churning out some production of content. But now that you now got the actors are on strike as well, at this point, nothing's going on. Whatever's done and in the can is now gold. And what I mean by that is, if this only goes on say it goes on for a month, that pushes back release dates, that pushes back productions, that pushes all this stuff back, which means everything that's already finished right now is platinum, to speak Ferengi, because there's going to be what are we going to call it? A black hole. There's a power vacuum. There's going to be a media release vacuum. And so whoever has the most stuff in the can finished right now are going to have, they're going to be on top of the world right now because you'll be able to release things in the gap where there's nothing come out. Look at COVID. People that had stuff in the can, they were able to continue, releasing some stuff. Now, they didn't do so well during the COVID era because of the restrictions. But there are no restrictions right now in society across the world. So the only restrictions is what content has really come out and what content has been stopped.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting because typically the fall television season begins there about the third week of September. is typically when these channels have their season premieres for all their shows, or they're debuting new shows, not just returning shows. And that does throw a wrench into it. Remember, this is worldwide. Why does that make a difference? Because there are shows that film in other countries too. For example, those of you that are longtime viewers of this channel know that I like the show La Brea, but that films in Australia. That's not an American production. It's filmed over there. But guess what? Work stops on that as well. And that's even an abbreviated season, which means that's going to get pushed back again. And I guess my first thought about hearing this is I'm all about people being paid fairly, being treated fairly. I'm not anti that at all. But I have lived long enough on this earth, Earl, to know that consumers don't like not being able to get what they want when they want, or when they think they should get it. We were going to the grocery store during COVID and you couldn't find things, or there were trucks coming and people lined up early to hoard it all.
Toilet paper.
And, yeah, there are ways around that, but we'll talk about that on another program. But
Farming, Lord Cephas.
Well, you didn't know, go look in the RV section of Walmart. You never know what you might find. But we know how the consumers reacted to that. Now, in that case, there was nothing you could do.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit different because this is entertainment based. And Hollywood has really struggled coming out of the pandemic. 2022, what great movies did we see come out in 2022 that were massive hits? Yeah.
I can't do a good rendition of that. So I'll just say Top Gun Maverick.
It did.
And
but you have that one. What else came out in 2022 after the pandemic?
Then you have the Blue People.
That's right. The Grown Up Smurfs. That's right. We've seen Spider-Man: No Way Home, which was really the first. Yeah, just printing money.
Oh yeah.
But you look at the movies that have hit. Super Mario Brothers did well. There have been a handful, but I really Hollywood's just now kind of getting a little bit of their sea legs back, so to speak. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny notwithstanding. Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania notwithstanding. There are some big swings and some big misses, but at least they're producing more content. Theaters are having more options for people to come. Not that they're going to all of them because they're voting with their pocketbook and their wallets. But now 2 years removed?
Yeah.
From a COVID shutdown, now you're going on strike. I guess the question I think about is, how is that received from just us normal folk? How will people react to that? Will they understand, well, it's business. You've got to hold out for your value or what you should get? Or does this just set them back again behind the 8 ball where they were for the last 18 months, 24 months?
Yes, and yes.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's the short answer.
Right.
When it comes to the strike, it does stop a lot of things, like the COVID stopped production, for a very long time and on different scales. So this is going to stop production on all scales. So I think that even though COVID, we did have what we call the COVID era films that were coming out. Right now, can you do a film without actors or screenwriters?
Yeah, go ahead.
There's not going to be any, strike era movies coming out because unless somebody crosses the lines, and I'm not talking Ghostbusters and the Queens, we're talking, Scabs, and we know who we're talking about.
Sure.
Nothing's going to get done. And that makes me sad. But, if I was an actor or a writer for a screenwriter or something, I would probably have a certain opinion on what I was worth as well. Because we're talking money.
And I think this is an interesting time for content creators because we've already seen people going to TikTok. or Twitter trying to get a little bit more. Threads launched last week, and it's been pretty good. It's got a bunch of people signed up to it. You've got all these different platforms: YouTube, Rumble. You've got the podcast apps with Odyssey and all the different ones, SoundCloud, Odyssey. There's so many different variations of it, and I just wonder if this isn't going to tip a little bit people more in the direction of, you know what, there is content being created. It just may not be produced by a major motion picture or by, 20, or well, it's not 20th Century Fox anymore. It used to be before Disney bought it. Maybe it's not being produced by Lucasfilm. Maybe could you see where some of the content creators kind of lose when they do finally come back? People are going to say, nah, I'm not as excited. I mean, we have an Ahsoka series coming up in a month. Does this stop that? Stop that. That's not the kind of show we do here. But do you think this takes away any of the excitement, knowing that regardless of how well it does or does not do, there's nothing going to happen with it anytime soon after it airs?
Well, I mean, with Ahsoka, probably not because of Disney, and they can't figure out which end is up right now. So, unless it makes $1 billion, Disney's not making any rapidly rash decisions. Which for them, this actually works in their case, that they're, shooting themselves in the foot. They can't stand, so they're not running into anything. They're falling everywhere.
Well, we turned him loose. And this is what you get, Earl After Dark, apparently.
But you know what? I'm not aiming just at Disney. Look at Warner Brothers and DC over there. They're probably happy that they have a little bit of breathing time. They have an excuse to separate themselves from the DCU and the DCEU and create the gap, and then they have a little bit more time to breathe, so they have feasible reasons to push back production values to make sure that their stuff is right. However, this is also Godfather Gunn, who said The Flash is one of the greatest films made ever.
Well, I mean, if Zasloff isn't going to drop the hammer on it like he did Batgirl, I mean, I guess you got to release it. Or I guess maybe it didn't get released. It escaped. I don't know how you would actually term that.
Yeah, but Batgirl, I'd be like, you know what, guys? We can't film anything right now, but we do have a Batgirl.
Listen, there were people who said Batgirl was actually scoring higher with audiences than The Flash was. And yet...
but that's not fair, because we have people that went to the wrong theater and watched the black screen and said it was scoring higher than The Flash was.
You were in a mood tonight, and I kind of like it. So to add to your snark that is oozing like the machismo of Razor Ramon tonight, I will read you one thing. Earl, this comes from a Deadline article earlier today. The movie Oppenheimer is
Chico.
You are not Razor Ramon. You don't have the accent, and you're not dripping in gold. Okay, so stop. You're not him. Rest in peace, Scott Hall, by the way.
Yes.
So Oppenheimer director Christopher Nolan was at a premiere in London for that movie, and all the actors and actresses were there for the premiere. And right before the premiere, they all left. Quote, "They are off to write their picket signs," is what he said to the crowd that had gathered to see the stars and see the premiere. Thought that was a pretty good line, actually. Let me throw one more thing at you, because this is not only going to talk about this, but lead into our next topic. And that's my good friend, Bobby Iger. I'm a big Bob Iger guy. He was actually on CNBC a little bit earlier today, and they asked him about the labor situation, right? And he basically said, and I will quote from the article, this also on Deadline, "It's very disturbing. The Hollywood unions are not being realistic about the current financial climate." I'm like, ooh.
Dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, and that actually leads us into our very next topic, which is our weekly look as Disney turns or burns, depending on how.
Into a, plummet, skydiving without a parachute, bungee jumping without a cord.
Well, so Mr. Iger shared that information on CNBC, and a tremendous amount of the picketers decided to go on social media. And social media is what it is. But they decided to point out the massive pay disparity between him and most of the working writers that were on strike already. Always interesting when those things get hurled around.
Yeah.
This might be one of those times Mr. Iger might not want to weigh in. You might want to sit that one out.
Yeah.
Because he's got enough on his plate going right now. What we've seen, the 4th of July was the lowest park attendance in many. Now, we're not talking about COVID. We're talking about normal years. It's been years since they had a number that low on the 4th. Now, listen, it's hot as blazes in Florida. Well, guess what? It's been hot as blazes in Florida for 1,000 years. Prices keep going up in the parks. Food prices keep going up. They charge you to park. It's $25 if you need preferred parking and you don't have a handicap sticker. It's $50. It's expensive.
Or break your leg, get a handicap sticker, priceless. Oh wait, no, that's a different. For these things, Discover, MasterCard, whatever.
Sincerely, you said you were making coffee before the show. What did you add to the coffee before?
I can't answer that. This is a family show.
Not only that, but you're using a Mickey cup, which makes it so much more disturbing than it. Yes. Let's all look at the House of Mouse. Okay. We see you can lower the cup now. But Disney does have some new things to think about, including Mr. Iger came out and said something very interesting. Now, we follow sports on this channel. We talk about sports. We cover them.
Yeah.
Bob actually said today that they were looking for an equity partner for ESPN. Now, for months and months and months, people said, Disney's going to sell off ESPN. And we have talked on this program, and I've argued forever. Why? It's the one division that makes money. Why would you sell off the division that makes you money?
Yep.
Now, they did some layoffs last Friday, or 2 Fridays ago, rather. Unfortunately, 20 some odd on-air talent got laid off. Never excited when somebody loses a job. I've been let go. It's not any fun. But people saw that and said, see, that just shows ESPN's hurting. No, they're trimming as much as they can because they want to be as much profit as possible. It's not that they're losing money. But here's the interesting thing at Disney. They're now saying basically, you know what? If there's a organization or a group out there that wants to invest some cash into ESPN, into Disney, let's be honest, it's not ESPN, it's Disney that needs the cash. We're willing to sell you an equity stake. It might be 10%, it might be 25%. Heck, it could be 49% for all we know. But they're openly talking about needing an infusion of cash, not for ESPN, but really for the other things that they're struggling with. I'm not going to say that reeks of desperation. I think that's a good business move, but it certainly has a whiff of we have problems and now we can't hide it.
Well, if I was this certain somebody, I would be like, you know what? We are branching out. We are a salt, and I'm talking about this hypothetical company. We have the market on authentic, real cage fighting. We now own one of the premier scripted wrestling companies. What if they were to, and yes, you know who I'm talking about, UFC, Mr. Dana Carvey himself. What if they were to go, you know what? What if we expand a little bit more and take 49% of ESPN? And now all of a sudden, you've got ESPN in the hook. You have a new place where you can put UFC, WWE.
That would be shocking in a lot of ways, but they're looking for an infusion of cash. I mean, money is money at this point. People have said, "Oh, well, they're going to sell to Apple one day." Apple's got cash to buy it. Yeah, Apple has enough issues to worry about with Apple TV. See, they got a lot of love and run with the Emmy nominations, which we'll talk about at the end of the program. Yeah. But it's the reality. Their subscriber base is mostly through phone services that provide that as part of your subscription plan,
Yep.
where they get no revenue from those subscribers. And so their actual subscriber base of actually paying for it every month is actually pretty small. Their programming very niche. They air Major League Soccer. Not a lot of people watch it. I'm not anti Major League Soccer, but the
Oh
broadcast
yeah.
don't draw a lot of people. They also air. I don't know if you know this, Earl. They air Major League Baseball, but a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm
people.
against.
Well, you're from a state that has two baseball teams.
And the,
One of them is competitive. One of them, well, if they win 60 games this year, they probably had a good year. That would be Kansas City.
and that sounds good
Well,
when you don't know what you're talking about. But when you realize they play 5,000 games a year,
that would be Oakland. They can't. They're just so bad. It's just so
well,
terrible.
they're in that.
I feel bad for them. But they're openly talking now about, hey, we need some infusion of cash. So it's going to be interesting to see who steps up and says, hey, we can provide that for you, because typically when you take on an equity partner, I mean, think about it. We've all seen some part or some, of an episode of Shark Tank. It's basically Shark Tank.
Yep.
Where, hey, we need a shark to help us rebrand this, because that's really what you're talking about is a rebranding of ESPN. And by the way, when that happens, that will completely change ESPN. It may change it for the better. It may change it for the worse. That means when this happens, it will not look the way it's always looked. It will not function the way it's always functioned. So, I mean, there's probably excitement of, hey, we're going to bring somebody new on board to help us. Sometimes better the devil you know than the one you don't. So I think this is very, very interesting that Disney's openly talking about we need an infusion, because you know what, Earl, they're on the clock. They've still got to pay off this Hulu deal.
Hulu, Fox, Lucasfilm.
Which unfortunately, Dial of Destiny has not moved the needle. See what I said? Dial of Destiny. Anyway, it just hasn't worked for them particularly.
Hasn't worked apparently.
Look, it got beat by Insidious 5, and on the 4th of July got rolled by The Sound of Freedom, which is an independent film, which, oh, by the way, Disney actually owned at one time.
Yeah.
When they bought Fox, Fox owned it. They eventually let it go. And I thought that was fascinating. The movie they owned actually beat the movie that they own on the 4th of July. It's made almost $50 million off a very small budget, so it's probably going to be a success.
14 point something $million budget. It's tripled the money.
We say this all the time. Disney's in a position where they need some wins. They don't even have to be big wins. You just need to win a little bit.
Disney is theme song to Smallville. Somebody save, and they don't care at DC. They're like, save us.
I can't even understand you tonight. You're like speaking Kryptonian. I don't know what's going on there. But they're being open with their financials, and I think that's fascinating. And in about a month, they have their next quarterly report where they're going to do their earnings call. That one is going to be very, very interesting. They might need the Baron to call in, or they may need the Baron to screen calls, because I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of questions being asked. They're going to be uncomfortable questions too. Well, I'll actually be at the parks, not this weekend, but next weekend. I'll give you a firsthand account. Little ones and birthdays, you know how it is. But yeah, it's interesting. Again, they're not falling off a cliff.
Nope.
But they're not what they were 8, 9, 10 years ago when every movie was $1 billion movie. In fact, Earl, I got one for you. If you take out Spider-Man No Way Home, which, by the way, Sony production, not Disney. If you take out Avatar 2, which is the 3rd biggest movie ever, not adjusted for inflation.
Fox, for the record.
Well, James Cameron in particular. Disney got the distribution right, so they got a portion of it. They're going to claim the win, and that's fine. But it really wasn't theirs. Can you guess what the last $1 billion movie was they actually created? Let's see if you can get it.
Avengers movie.
Which one?
That would be Infinity Wars? or Endgame?
Endgame.
2019?
Yep.
So you're saying 5 years ago.
Say again?
5 years ago.
It is the last $1 billion movie that they had.
5 years ago.
Which at one point it was what, something like 10, 11, 12 movies in a row. It was insane. Numbers we'll never see again.
Oh, no.
But they had more come out in the last week. There were reports that they may have under considered what the budgets actually were. For example, Doctor Strange Mom. That's Multiverse of Madness, for those who don't know. Actually, there was a report that it really wasn't what we said. It's actually an extra $100 million that needed to be added into the budget. So now that movie that everyone's saying, oh, it made great money. Actually, it was at least it was still another $100 million added onto it.
Yeah.
And the way the report said is this is pretty much across the board in most all of their movies. That's terrible. That means Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that money you made. Now you can do whatever you want with accounting. Maybe is not here to do her statistics and probability. But that probably takes some of that out. And I'll say this: Guardians 3 looks like it did okay. But here's my thing, dude. Disney does not make these movies just to do okay.
Oh, they want to make money.
You don't spend $1 billion to make $300. You don't do it. And
unless you're Disney.
Well, here's what we know: Ant-Man and the Wasp. It just didn't hit. It just didn't.
Yeah.
Elementals. No. Pixar's not doing well.
No. But I don't understand. I saw like this trailer probably half a dozen times for the trailer for Elementals, right?
Osmosis Jones.
The only trailer I saw was the teaser trailer, the one where everybody's on the subway train. Mm-hmm. I didn't see any other trailer for Elementals. I have no idea other than somebody called, they're gonna file it up. Oh, that's it. Mm-hmm. What? That's it. Nothing else. You're not going to tell me anything about this movie to make me want to go see it. As far as I can tell, I live in Florida. I see ice melt with fire every day. Why am I going to pay $57 for one ticket and $87 for a popcorn to go see what I see when I walk outside? Oh, there was my 5-year-old child. She's now melted into a puddle. I've seen Elementals every day. You haven't given me any reason to see this movie. It's a subway train with different things. Expand on it. Give me something more than fire, ice, melts. Oh, sizzle. I live in Florida. You put me out there and you flip me with a giant spatula and you'll have sizzle.
I don't know what you say after the perfect take that the Earl just threw out there, other than to say, well done, my friend. Well done. The question I would ask you after that epic rant is, has Disney forgotten what it is that the fans actually want?
I think they have not forgotten, which is the problem. Because when I watched that teaser of Elementals and I want something more, what I saw was, tell me if this sounds familiar, opposites attract. One's a fox, one's a bunny. They must work together. And oh, by the way, there's also a subway monorail train in it. Oh, wait. Haven't I seen this before? What did they give me that was more than that? Except I didn't get, an awesome soundtrack.
Why? Was there perhaps a trip to the DMV involved? I'm just still so good. I'm still so good. Sloths, they don't get old. I'm sorry, they don't. But here's the thing. Andor, which, by the way, is amongst the Emmy nominations, which we'll talk about here in just a little bit, cost $250 million to make.
Yeah.
Television series. How do you possibly make $250 million back on a Disney Plus series? You can't get enough people to subscribe and pay that monthly to ever catch up to where that money is.
Take out life insurance on the characters you create and murder them in the next series.
Well, I mean, if you put it in Deadpool 3, maybe he could save the Marvel and the Lucasfilm universe. I
Hey,
think
I'm telling you, Deadpool. You know what's one of the famous Deadpool things? Deadpool kills the Marvelverse, right?
Marvel
What
universe,
if, what if it's Deadpool kills the multiverse, meaning Fox, Sony, uh, whatever Fantastic Four was also Fox. You know, he can kill a lot of characters just in Fox. You got Daredevil, Elektra, all the X-Men from the first one, all the X-Men from the second turnaround. You know, he could just have a heyday and actually succeed in doing what he needed to do, and then throw some, Disney stuff in there if you really wanted to.
yeah. Not only are you just off the chain tonight, you're also calling for violence, and I think that's a YouTube violation. We'll have to check on that and see. Oh, by the way, rumors for people who like to partake in such: Scarlet Witch will fight Jean Grey in the Deadpool 3 movie. One rumor, and one of the Scarlet Witches will be the daughter of Magneto. They will play that up from one of the Earths, and I'm like, multiverse, great.
But not anytime soon because actors and screenwriters have went on strike. Goodbye, Deadpool 3. Well, it was pushed to what, May of 2024?
Yeah, I think it sounds about right.
But never fear because you know who's going to come save us? A Midnight Sun. Blade! Oh,
The Marvels in November.
Blade! Oh.
Now listen, why are you kicking him? Why are you kicking the movie while it's down? Come on now.
Has the movie ever been up?
I don't know why you're being so aggressive and angry tonight. I really don't know. Maybe we can move on to a topic that is a little more positive tonight. We're gonna have to caption this: "The Earl explodes." We do have one other main topic we want to cover here tonight, and we quote specifically from the Star Wars universe quite a bit on this show. It is your destiny. And here's what we're talking about: Mission Impossible 7, Dead Reckoning.
10.
Is it 10?
I don't know.
Facts. I know there's Facts 10. No, I thought this was only number 7.
Right? They had 1, 2, 3, then they took a break. Then it was like 4, 5, 6, 7. I don't know.
We're just gonna go with Dead Reckoning, and we'll just call it like that. Actually did previews last night. It made about $15 million in previews last night, 15.5 million.
Which is more than the Flash has made this entire time.
I don't understand why the DCEU hatred, but there you go. So it was an okay preview night. Now, Thursday night, tonight, we're recording. It'll make a nice little chunk of change. But to be honest, it's really about what Friday does. If Friday's a big number, more than likely Saturday will be a big number, and Sunday will be okay. So really Friday night is the telltale. We wake up on Saturday morning, if you look at the estimates, if they're not really, really good, we might be having a little trouble here, because here's another one of those $300 million movies. And I think it's interesting because we've talked excessively about Disney and their budgets being so high. Well, guess what? Here's another movie with a budget that's super high. And Earl, I just wonder to myself, is this going to be the massive hit people think, or is this going to be one of those things where, oops, we misjudged the audience with another aging action star?
Well, I think they put their money in the man who safely landed the plane in Top Gun Maverick. He flew through the enemy movie productions, and he fired that torpedo and took out. Oh wait, no, sorry. You know what? Tom Gunn. Wow. Tom Cruise. He could be named Tom Gunn because let's face it, he's gunning down all the other movies. So let's see. He's kind of been the hitter that clean up here. You bring him in, and he swings for the fences and knocks it out. He's been doing pretty well. So you know what? I'm not sure I want to bet against him. The budget is $291 million. Can we say hello, Indiana Jones? But the only difference is Ethan Hunt is not dead. Now, in your defense, Indiana Jones isn't dead. He's just dead in the hearts of fans all around the world. And Ethan Hunt lives on. Now that right there could be a lot of the.
Wow.
We can. I'm to be honest. Anybody younger than 35, they don't care about Indiana Jones. And the tickets, if you looked at those when they did the survey and stuff, it showed that there was a definitive difference between the people who were there, I think it was 35 and older and 35 and younger, and who was buying tickets. It's proven. That's not even rumor anymore. So our guess proved to be correct. Now with Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible movies, these movies have been going on for 20 years. What makes them different than Indiana Jones is they haven't taken a 15 or a 19-year break in between them. Right. That is a big difference, in my opinion. They've been turning them out. Fallout was 2018. It's been every few years. They've been spitting them out, and the first Mission Impossible was before 2000. So Mission Impossible 2 was 2000. Mm-hmm. So this franchise has been going on for about 25 years, and they're consistent. And you know what you're getting, and they have a fan base that's built up.
Right.
Now, $300 million is a little steep, but you know what? They've made that money every time. So, are you going to bet against them? I don't know.
I'm just going to say, man, it would make me nervous because that's $300 million. My question is, does that count the marketing budget? Because that makes the number higher.
That's the thing. What I want to know is this: $291 million to make, right?
Right.
My question is it similar to Avatar 2, 3, and 4, or 2, 3 and half of 4, I should say? Because Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 and 2 were filmed at the same time. Now, if you go and look at some of the other Mission Impossible movies, their budget is no more than half that. So is that the entire budget for both movies? If it is, then you're talking $150 million budget for one movie. That
makes a big difference.
Makes a huge difference. $150 million is insane. So that I'm curious to know what the truth is there. Is that for both movies, or is that just for the one? I'm thinking, based on the budgets of all these other ones, it's looking like it's not hard to see it being for both movies. So, I mean, if that's the case, it makes it a lot more attainable. So, but I don't see any information one way or the other, because Fallout cost $175 million to make, and they had Tom Cruise, Henry Cavill, Ving Rhames, Conan Pegg, Rebecca Ferguson, Sean Harris, Angela Bassett, Michelle Molly, and Alex Baldwin. They had a massive budget,
right?
And $175 million. Are you telling me that you literally almost doubled it to make one movie? It is possible. Look at Indiana Jones. Look at Ant-Man and the Wasp. Look at any other Marvel movie that's come out recently, and more. Okay, so it's possible, but I'm thinking that's the combined budget, which makes sense if you want to save money.
So you were talking about financials. So I guess we'll go ahead and move over into our Triple M overtime section. For those of you not familiar with the show, overtime is when we talk about stuff that maybe doesn't get its own category, but they're just some things running through our head. Earl, you're talking about the budgets, whether it's for one movie or whether it's split apart. Or maybe one movie has more hung on it than the other one, right? Fast and Furious 10, so Fast X, all right, has made $702 million, almost $703 million worldwide. Now, here's the split. Internationally, where it's made 80% of its money, it's made almost $560 million. Here domestically, it's made about 145. So it's only made about 20% of its money here in the United States. But the budget for Fast X, that sounds really good. You know, it's what, 702, almost $703 million. The budget was 340.
Yeah.
340. And if the majority of your money comes from overseas and you don't get every dollar for dollar, maybe with physical media sales or VOD or those things, you squeeze out more money. Maybe you can get that number up to maybe 800 million.
Maybe.
But is that a success? You doubled your money, but typically you need to be 2 times the money because that doesn't even factor in any type of marketing. Whatever their marketing budget was, it doesn't count it in. And I'm just like, man, dude, it's a 70% increase in budget from 9 to this one. And we said this when this was getting ready to come out, Earl. This movie is an international play. It's made for international audiences. But the international audiences, dude, they're shrinking quite a bit.
Yeah.
You get nothing from Russia, obviously. China, nah. And even with that, it's the lowest returning international market at 20%.
Yep.
And I just think we're at the time where big budgets ought to give you a pause for concern.
It would me.
It's just it's too much money. It's too much risk because I just don't see the return on it.
Nope.
All right, let's talk a little bit about return. Insidious, The Red Door came out last weekend, and over the weekend it made $33 million. It actually won the weekend. Earl, right now it sits at about $74 million worldwide. Are you surprised how well it's done? Or is it in line with what you thought it would be?
Absolutely not. Are you looking at the information for it right now?
Yes.
Who is the one who directed it?
Give me 1 second. I can get that for you. All right. The information says, and I quote, oh, that was not helpful. Just keep talking. I'll get it for you here in a second.
All right. Well,
by the way, it has a budget of $16 million.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about that. That's a nothing budget. That is.
The director was Patrick Wilson, just for the record.
You what?
Patrick Wilson, who also did Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which will be coming out in December.
You know, Insidious is a franchise. It is a well-established franchise at this moment in time, right?
Right.
You got Insidious 1, Insidious 2. I mean, and they are bankable. I've seen them, and they come with spoilers of, you want to make sure when you watch it that you know what you're getting into. It is a horror movie. It is a supernatural horror movie, so you need to be aware of that. But it is. We talked about horror movies having a niche, but it has a very, very strong following. Yep. Now, Insidious: The Red Door. Do you know who the producer was? Because this is the clickpin of it.
Who would be considered the producer?
Do what? The producer is all right. This guy has been involved with these movies, either directing, writing, producing. Okay, he's done Saw 1, Saw 2, Saw 3, Dead Silence, which is a puppet horror movie. Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon. Saw 4, Saw 5, Saw 6. The first Insidious movie, Saw 3D, The Conjuring, Insidious Chapter 2, Annabelle, Demonic, Furious 7, Insidious Chapter 3, The Conjuring 2, Lights Out, Annabelle Creation, Jigsaw, Insidious Last Key, The Nun, Aquaman, The Curse of La Llorona, Annabelle Comes Home, Mortal Kombat, Spiral, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, Malignant, There's Someone Inside Your House, Megan, and Insidious: The Red Door. This guy is a horror. We'll call him demigod. He has been blessed by the uppers. This man is James Wan, and he's reinvented horror films all the way back with the Saw movie. It blew up all over the place because this was something that nobody's ever done. It was gritty and dark and knit, and had a story that actually was it was completely different than the slasher films or the monster films that came before. It made you think and try to figure out where the loop is. It was like M. Night Shyamalan's doing a horror movie instead of M. Night Shyamalan doing a movie and it just being a horror movie for watching it. Yeah, shots fired at M. Night Shyamalan. Okay?
Fine, were you?
Yeah, but then on top of this is also the guy who slipped into doing some of the Furious movies, but this guy had created a horror franchise: La Llorona, the Annabelle, the Conjuring movies. He has created something at the Nun, and the Nun 2 is going to be coming out later this year. This guy has reinvented, recreated, and reinvigorated horror. I mean, Megan, it's Chucky, but with a different twist, and it's satirical. I said that wrong, but you know what I'm trying to say.
I know you meant satirical. You're right.
You got the Nun 2 coming out later this year. Saw 10 coming out later this year, and yes, he returned to Aquaman and the Kingdom, which I really, really, really wanted to be good despite everything, and I hope it is. But who knows? Then you got a few movies coming out over the next few years, which is he coming out with a Megan 2.0. He's doing the Salem's Lot version and the Mortal Kombat 2 whenever it'll get to it eventually. But this man is like gold. He can print money right now, especially when it comes to the horror genre. This man is crazy. And, props to him. It's mad respect for him. I'm jealous of him.
By the way, as a director, his movies have grossed almost $4 billion worldwide.
But how much has it cost to make these movies, too?
They're balling on a budget, dude. They're shoestringing that thing.
Yeah. Other than the Furious movies, these movies are between a few $1 million to usually like 50 million. Yeah. Maybe. Depends. This guy, I mean, I can't give him enough props for what he's done and what he's reinvigorated, because horror movies were a cliche. They were, we got the unstoppable, it's Jason Voorhees. Oh, it's Michael Myers. Oh, it's the supernatural, Freddy Krueger. And then you had the Monster Mash movie, pretty much. But they were a joke. And he scared the crap out of people all over him. I mean, terrifying. So, props to him. Sorry.
No, please. Go ahead.
For overtime, or do you want me to dive in?
Not yet. The floor is yours.
Okie dokie. Well, James Wan, thank you very much for your body of work. It is impressive, and we take our hats off to you. But now it's time to put the hat on and welcome a little bit more of the Baron as we look at the DCU Superman Legacy. Now, we have had a lot of information coming from that recently. You are aware of a lot of it. We have our we've already covered the Superman Clark Kent character was cast, and so was Lois Lane. But we also have a lot more news coming in. We had rumors that Daniel Craig was offered the role of Lex Luthor. But James Gunn came on and said, nah, not true. There's some rumors that it was Nicholas Hoult, but he confirmed, that was not true. Hoult was in the running for Superman Clark Kent as well, but that was passed on. However, we do have confirmations of a few people that are going to be coming in. Speaking of, we have Isabella Merced is going to be Hot Girl in Superman Legacy. And I don't know how I feel about that. I haven't registered that fully because I loved Aldous Hodge, right? That's his name, from Leverage fame. Mm-hmm. He played Hawkman in the recently released Black Adam film that just got one black marks, and like Adam's son was murdered by another child, which is going to be called the James Gunn universe coming up. But one of my favorite parts that he got jacked for the role physically, and he was a lot of fun to watch. I'm not sure I want to move to Isabella Merced yet. Just like when they did the Legends of Tomorrow series, I was not prepared. I didn't care for Hawkman or Hawkgirl because Michael Shanks was still Hawkman to me. And you know who I'm talking about? Smallville fame of Stargate and a little bit on Burn Notice. Michael Shanks is the man. Daniel Jackson. Sorry.
Burn Notice, you mean like 2.5 episodes?
But they were awesome. Were they not?
They were good. They were.
We also have Eddie Gaffigi as Mr. Terrific, which again is interesting because we just had Mr. Terrific in the Arrowverse on, Arrow. And then Nathan Fillion is returning to DC as Guy Gardner. I really don't understand that. I like Nathan Fillion. I want to like Nathan Fillion. They announced him as Guy Gardner, and now I've actually started watching The Rookie, hoping that he gets shot and killed because I hate Guy Gardner, and now that Nathan Fillion's playing him, I want him to die and everything he said. I'm sorry. Give him the bowl cut and shoot him, please. Please. But anyway, we also know that there's rumors of how Jordan may be appearing in Superman Legacy as well, and there's talks that it could potentially be Channing Tatum, which I'm not sure about that, about any of it actually. I just know that I want Guy Gardner to die in the most horrible way possible. And sorry, Nathan Fillion, that means you must die. Anyway, Anthony Kerrigan is Metamorpho, which will be pretty cool. He's been in a lot of things, including he was also in the Arrowverse as well. So, I think he was one of the Flash things. He was the one that turned into the fog, the smoke fog, the if you inhaled it, you died, like the poison. Mm-hmm. I think this was like Weather Wizard and a few others and a few others. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, that's a lot, and we also know that the Authority, some of them will be appearing in Superman Legacy. So my question is, Gunn, what are you doing? Have we not learned that if you put too many things in one thing, you're going to kill everybody? Which, in the case of Nathan Fillion, I'm okay with. For the future of the DCU, I don't want that to happen. Superman Legacy is slated to start filming in January 2023. That was before what we just talked about, the Writers Guild Association and now the Screen Actors Guild. So how much will that impact that? This is the first film supposed to be coming out for the DCU, and now will we still be able to hit that mark? What's going on? Is James Gunn writing this? Right? Is he part of the Screenwriters Guild? Is he going to get in trouble for continuing to work on this? I mean, I don't understand. I don't know the logistics of all this, but it doesn't look good to say that this film's going to still hit the mark of starting production of January 2023 because there's a lot that goes into pre-production. So what's your opinions on all these actors, all these characters, of the inclusion of Nathan Fillion and the, soon to die Guy Gardner, and all this, and culminating in being ready to drop and begin production in January?
So I'm going to quote the Green Lantern, if I may. In brightest day, in blackest night, no evil shall escape my sight. Let those who worship evil's might beware my power, Green Lantern's light. I mean, after what that incoherent rant you just went upon, I mean, that can't be any worse than what you
I hope Nathan Fillion is shot in the back on The Rookie and he's forced out of the show.
I'm really not sure why the anger. I think that's probably a bit of fan service by having him involved in the movie. By the way, he's well liked. He's good friends with James Gunn. We've seen him in the Guardians movies.
But why not make him, how? Snarky, sarcastic, and somebody you're supposed to like. You make him Guy Gardner. Are you trying to redeem Guy Gardner, or are you trying to make Nathan Fillion the new hated dude? I mean, that's a legitimate question I have.
I think you look at it from the Guardians' perspective. None of them were very likable from the beginning, and I think I think that's James Gunn's way of introducing characters. Make them unlikable to start with, and then slowly bring them along to where by the end you really do care about them.
See,
I think that's his mindset in storytelling.
but never have I wanted to see the death of Superman just to see Guy Gardner much.
Right? Doesn't
Come
come
on.
in the comics at the death of
Well,
Superman.
that was horrible. Come on. Horrible.
He was tore up about the fact Superman died against Doomsday in the comic. He was very
Oh,
disappointed.
Superman died. It's okay. But that haircut was horrible. Now, speaking of haircuts and horrible, have you seen the new Mermaid Ken that's going to be in the Barbie movie?
No, I'm not up on that information.
While I introduce people to the Mermaid Ken, you need to look it up, a picture, and see it for yourself. Mermaid Ken in the Barbie movie, which I don't know what they were doing when they greenlit this movie. It looks just, I don't know. My kids, I have daughters that are boycotting this movie because it looks appalling. I have sons who are like, what are they? Who is this for? As an adult, I still don't know who this is for. Have you got the picture pulled up yet?
We're going to move on.
No, we can't.
I'm not.
Want to see a masculine Ken as a mermaid?
No, we're not doing it. We're not sharing it.
We won't share it. Look it up. Look up Mermaid Ken from the Barbie movie and be appalled and afraid because I am. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, do you have anything you want to say about that picture, sir?
I'm gonna steal coach speak. You know, we just have to trust the process. We have to tune out the noise in the system. That's what I'm gonna say because I have no idea based on that picture what to say.
And one of the last things I want to
a glitter bazooka in Barbie, I'd be happy with that because I'm a big fan of Barbie's dream house.
Oh man, but that one, how do you feel about that picture? I'm not.
It is not.
There's nothing I can say. I don't have the word to describe, and I think considering how I went on a rant tonight, that should tell you something. Look it up, and then have nightmares and blame Lord Cephas. Now,
it tells me you should not be allowed to drink coffee before we record.
Woo! Oh, I'm at a.
Oh, he's about out. Oh, that's too bad.
Okay, so moving on. We are looking at potentially a third entry into another horror franchise. Director Danny Boyle, who we know from Training, Spotting, Dread, Ex Machina, Annihilation. So he got a decent thing. He came out with, back in 2002, a movie that helped reinvigorate zombie movies. And when I say reinvigorate, he helped introduce a new zombie in the film, zombie-esque, I should say, and 28 Days Later. Right. If you've seen this movie, you've seen the pilot episode of The Walking Dead, except it's scarier. Why?
Walking Dead holds itself.
I mean, if you've seen 28 Days Later, you've seen the second Resident Evil movie. I mean, why is it every protagonist wakes up in the hospital coming out of a thing? I'm like, why? Who started it? It was 28 Days Later, Danny Boyle, a B or C flick movie that also introduced us to fast zombies. Slow zombies were bad enough, but fast zombies are terrifying, especially when you're a bigger guy and you don't run that fast in the first place. You're like, I'm dead.
It's pretty true.
But anyway, 28 Days Later gave birth to 28 Weeks Later, which was a continuation. Obviously, it takes place 28 weeks later. And it starred, actually, Idris Elba was in it, Jeremy Renner. There were several named actors who were in it. And it didn't go well. What's his name? Rumpelstiltskin from Once Upon a Time also didn't survive, or didn't do well in that. Right. But the plan was to make a 28 months later movie, but it's been 20 1 year since the first movie came out. So they're like, what about 28 years later? And so he's looking into diving back into that. If you haven't seen the first movie, it's your fault. Cillian Murphy of the upcoming movie Oppenheimer, I believe it's out, will possibly be returning as the protagonist from the first movie. So it'll have some back roots. And so pretty much if you want to watch a movie about the protagonist who wakes up in a coma from a hospital bed, tries to learn the new environment, and then fast forward years and years and years in the future, don't watch Rick and Michonne, watch 28 years later. I feel better now.
Are you sure?
I think so. I'm pretty sure that's all I feel.
To bring a little bit of sanity to what we can't say it's gone off the rails. It was never actually on the rails. Last thing I have, at least, is the Emmy nominations came out this week. And again, Yellowstone, no nominations. Not nominated for Best Drama.
Because there's nothing good there.
What?
What?
I didn't hear what you said. Well, they've been snubbed yet again. No nomination for Best Drama. But, Earl, I will tell you what did get nominated for Best Drama. How about
HBO?
Andor?
What?
Andor.
Indoor? Andor.
Exactly. And Willow, too, while we're at it. Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, Succession, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets, otherwise pretty much known as HBO Max and Showtime series, pretty much, with the exception of Andor and Better Call Saul and The Crown. I mean, everything else is pretty much dominated by Showtime and by Cinemax. Earl, I will just register my disappointment that Beth Dutton still gets no respect. John Dutton gets no respect. Rip gets no respect. I'm appalled that yet again the show gets no respect from the critics. However, it has been one of the most popular television series in recent times. So that just tells me it's not about what the majority of the people like. It's about what the people sitting over in the room like. And then they tell us what it is we're supposed to like. I don't. No. I'm simply pointing out that
we get canceled.
Yeah. Well, usually when I do like something, it does get canceled. Earl, go ahead.
I mean, to talk about Sheridan, the Sheridan verse, if you will. Sure. You know, I'm going to lead into so Sylvester Stallone's TV show Tulsa King has been renewed for a second season.
Yes, it has.
But again, what that means with the screenwriters and the Actors Guild, we don't know how long that'll be. Right. But I will say that I do find it amusing that I was talking with somebody the other day at the store who absolutely loved Tulsa Kings, and he's like the old guy who stars in that. He scares me that he does it so well, and I'm like, old guy. He goes, yeah, the main guy, the guy who came from New York and went to. I'm like, you don't know who that is? Mm-hmm. No. So there is a new generation of TV watchers who are learning to love Sylvester Stallone, and they're like 20, 25 years old. That's a third of Sylvester Stallone's age. Then you go, there are people who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s who've grown up watching Rocky and Rambo and love Sylvester Stallone from kids, and that includes us. And then there are people who are in their 70s, like Sylvester Stallone, although he is a mutant, he looks great. I mean that with all love and sincerity. Please don't kill me, Mr. Stallone. But this man has fans that go from their 70s to their 50s to the 20s, and that yes, I love him as an actor, but part of that is the stories and the writing that Sheridan does on Yellowstone and on Tulsa King, and in the prequel series that he does with Yellowstone. So if you haven't checked out his stuff, do it. Go watch it. Go enjoy it. It's going to be around, and you're going to have a nice long break before new stuff eventually starts coming out. So check it out. Do yourself a favor. 75 years of people alive on this earth can't all be wrong. Just
Well, and he also did Sons of Anarchy back in the day too. So I mean, he's
Sons
got a
of-
massive amount of success.
I watched the original series. The complexity of the slow. It reminded me of some of William Shakespeare's like Hamlet, Macbeth, and there's a lot of spiraling. You're hoping that it's a good, again, age appropriate, and be aware of content. It will be disturbing on so many different levels, but Taylor Sheridan is a name that's going to be known, and he proves why, because he's very good. Watch Yellowstone, and you'll see a very conflicted story about family, good, bad, the ugly, and you keep turning into one.
Even he said Yellowstone is just the Godfather set on a ranch in Montana, and you know what? It pretty much is.
Yeah.
It's not about pulling for the heroes. It's about seeing how people tend to feel like they're the victim, and therefore that allows them to act any way they want. That's a very interesting morality play. There are no good guys. They're not. They're all flawed, and in some cases very difficult to root for, which really makes watching it even more disturbing because we're used to black and white, good guy, bad guy. It's not that way.
Well, I think what you just said right there also differentiates the difference between television and movies now and television and movie when we were growing up. Because back then, the good guys were very clear cut. There was good, there was bad. And then there were a few morally gray, ambiguous characters that usually ended up getting shot because they turned bad. There were few and very few of the morally gray people who were vindicated and redeemed. But for the most part, growing up, you had the good guys, you had the bad guys. Now, most every show that's on TV that's, in anywhere near this vein is about the slow deterioration of the morality of the main character. And it's their spiral into moral bankruptcy and depravity, and what loads they'll go to attain their goals. And I don't know if that's a comment on society, or if that's just a comment on the depth of these actors and these writers that are just looking deeper into the soul. So I'm like, I might be a comment on both.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up because we have The Acolyte coming out later this year. And that is the whole point of it. Oh, it's about seeing things from, another perspective. Or, that's all I can say. But you do see that taking place now where no one's really ever bad.
Yeah.
It's that, it's shades of gray. No, sometimes bad is just bad. It's not redeemable. And, there are characters we've seen who have been redeemed in popular literature. But there are some that are just irredeemable. I'm sorry. They're just not redeemable. And I'm not interested in a lot of cases going, well, why did they turn out that way? The only one I can say that I really, and it's taken me years to come to grips with it, is the Anakin Skywalker arc in the Star Wars prequels. And even with that, I get what they were going for.
Yeah.
But they still didn't quite get all the way there. And dude, they had 4 and 5 hour cuts of those movies.
Oh yeah.
Because you probably could have stretched it out that much and maybe gotten more of that story rather than some areas it seemed a little rushed. But
of course it gets everywhere.
As the Emperor Jedi controls pretty much everybody to get what he wants.
Yeah.
Beats up the one Jedi Master who should have been able to compete with him and absolutely smacked the little green thing down.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But that's okay. He got his own movie there at the end. He got the Rise of Palpatine. There is that. All right. Well, on that note, that is all I have. Earl, is there anything else you want to drop on the people before we go?
Um, no, that's about it. I've been your guide. I've been through very very you know I think I've been very nice and kind in my comments tonight. I
Yes.
think I've sugarcoated some things that could have been a lot worse. I believe that I have you know gently touched on some subjects that have been you know dwelling in my mind, and I don't think I've offended anyone.
No, I think you have been nothing but a paragraph Christian, if you will. Um, Earl, it's good to have you back in your full Earl form. Thank you for joining us tonight. We do appreciate it. And thank you all for having joined us in this little menagerie of insanity that we do. This has been Midnight Magic Musings, episode number 26. We'll be back next week, hopefully, with Midnight Magic Musings, episode 27. All we ask of you is click that like button. Go ahead and click subscribe if you've not done so, and share this thing out on your social media platform of choice. We do greatly appreciate it. So, on behalf of the Earl of Florida, I am the humble host, Lord Cephas. We will have more content coming up this weekend as Lady Cephas will be returning to share her Dead City thoughts, which will drop probably Sunday night after Dead City airs so that we don't drop spoilers days before the episode actually airs. That's not fair to anyone like that. I know the Earl is hoping to get some more recordings in as well. So we'll have fresh content coming for you this weekend. Until that time, again, on behalf of the Earl of Florida, I'm your humble host, Lord Cephas. So long, everybody.